Well, great to be here on Supper Club Day all across the state. What we did was highlight the 250 supper clubs that we have in the state. Had a contest, a great challenge. 400,000 votes were cast online. Today I went to each of the 3 finalists, and we're here, one of the top finalists in the entire state of Wisconsin, Pinewood, a great supper club here. And not just to say thank you and recognize them being one of the top 3 in the entire state, but also just to acknowledge that supper clubs in particular are a great attraction both for people from Wisconsin as well as people coming up from Chicago or from the Twin Cities and really all across the country. It's more than just a good meal. It's a lot of memories. Typically, like here at Pinewood, some good scenery and great staff, and that's what makes a supper club experience. It's more than just the food, although that's pretty good too. It's the whole experience, and that's what we're highlighting as part of TravelWisconsin.com.
Yeah, it's a rough gig having to go to 3 supper clubs in a day. I feel bad for you, but so why don't you tell us a little bit about, so if someone's not from Wisconsin, like I've only lived here a year.
Yeah.
What makes supper clubs special?
Well, they're really unique in the sense that it's a full experience. And you just start out with the relish tray and the cheese and the crackers. You typically get soup and salad. Get a meal that falls over the top of your already big plate to begin with all the, not just the main course, but with all the other elements along with it. And then typically a dessert, and oftentimes a dessert drink with it as well. And so it's one of those where I know as a kid growing up in a small town in south central Wisconsin, for us it was the Village Supper Club, it was the Duck Inn Supper Club. There's places like that from one end of the state to the other. A lot of people I talk to can say they can remember who they were out with, what the event was, the kind of fun that they had, and the experience that you typically, a lot of places don't take reservations because people just come on in, come up to the bar, grab a beer, grab an old fashioned, have a good time, relax. And it's one of those where you're not just spending a little bit of time, you're typically spending the whole night at a supper club, and it's like being with family.
What specifically made Pinewood one of the finalists?
Well, the votes, they got out of 400,000 cast, they got 129,000 votes. So they were not only one of the top 3, they and Ashnala by far were the top 2, way ahead of anybody else out there. And I think that just shows that they have tremendous support, not only here in north central Wisconsin, but probably from a whole lot of folks that have come and been a part of Pinewood over the years from all different parts of the state and probably even beyond the state.
Yeah, brandy old fashioned, right?
Yeah,
All
brandy
right.
old fashioned sweet's my wife's favorite.
Good to know.
That's why we sell more Corbel brandy in the state of Wisconsin than any other state in the nation, including California.
I saw a Business Insider writer got schooled by some Wisconsinites saying that old fashions had died, and some Wisconsinites corrected him in his email inbox apparently.
Well, and it's one of those where you, kind of the cool thing is, and we found this a few years ago when we did a specialized marketing campaign and ad campaign that we did to promote tourism all throughout the Midwest. And we saw is not only did folks, maybe retirees and others like it because of memories from the past, but you saw with the whole Madman craze and others that there were a lot of millennials who got into the whole vibe of the supper club as well. And so it really spans the spectrum, and it's one of those we want to keep going. Part of the cool thing with our ad campaign, it wasn't actors, it was real people looking like real people do here in the state of Wisconsin, having a blast and a good time, something everybody could relate to. And so we've taken it not only with supper clubs, we have a supper club concession stand at the Kohl Center. It's one of the most popular there. It serves supper club concessions. The Packers got excited about that, so we now have one at Lambeau Field where they actually serve old fashions. It's the only place at Lambeau Field where you can get old fashioned. So it's the Travel Wisconsin Supper Club there as well, and it's just part of a great tradition. And anytime you talk about supper clubs, more often than not, people get a big smile on their face because they can remember an experience either in the past or just in recent memory that was a good time at a supper club.
Definitely.
Just one question kind of off topic from today, but what if we could just get your reaction to Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark resigning?
Yeah, there'd been talk that he was going to leave before. In the past, it was talk about joining the federal administration. For us, we haven't, to my knowledge yet today, physically got the resignation letter. He sent it to the county clerk for us to act as we've done with several other appointments for sheriff as well as county executive, or excuse me, not county executive, county district attorney, and the judicial appointments that we frequently make across the state. For us, the clock starts ticking once we get an official resignation letter from him. When we do, we'll go through the same process we use for others. We've got a panel of law enforcement experts that look at the people who apply for this, and I'll ultimately interview the finalists.
Now, Sheriff Clark can be a very divisive figure in Wisconsin, but also nationwide. He's gotten national attention with being part of the Trump campaign. Are you going to, once the resignation is official and you get it, are you going to be looking for someone as high profile for the sheriff's position? What are some of the things you're going to be looking for?
Well, my process for this appointment is going to be no different than the other sheriffs and district attorneys and judges I've appointed across the state. I want people who are well qualified for the position. So for us, that's why we have a panel of law enforcement experts that help us look through and do background checks on the people who apply. We want people who are going to be good leaders. In this case, obviously, a very large, high-profile law enforcement agency. But our goal is going to want to be people who are qualified to be leaders of a law enforcement agency here in the state, just like we made great picks all over the county. I mean, I picked in the past the Marathon County sheriff and think I did a good job there, just as I picked other good sheriffs across the state. We'll do the same thing.
Unless you have any words for the people from Wisconsin who are headed down to Texas. I
Sure.
know we've talked to quite a few of them.
Actually, I just had a gentleman here before that brought me a banner that he's sending down that from Houston to from folks here in Wausau. He asked if I'd sign it. I said absolutely. And he actually lives in Wausau, but was from Houston. I said it was particularly interesting to me because almost a quarter century ago, I used to work for the American Red Cross. And so the Red Cross, Salvation Army, a lot of other groups all across the country and really around the world are stepping up to help those in need. So clearly, money is a big deal. People, as we have done in our household and others, donating money to groups like the Red Cross and others out there, but also volunteers. I know in the past I worked with a lot of folks at the Red Cross who were part of disaster action teams. Those are the very volunteers, many of whom have gone out time after time after time again, and the hat tip to them. They're the same people that respond to floods and other disasters here in the state of Wisconsin, and thank God for people like that. For all the talk in the last month or two about division, when you see the people from Wisconsin around the country stepping up to help their fellow citizen, I think that's what really America's all about. It's looking out for people regardless of race, regardless of where they live, regardless of the political beliefs. It's just people in need being helped by people who just care about them because they're fellow American citizens.